Eagles haven't filled this spot?
I think Sirianni's a lame duck, and they don't want to move to Philly for a year to then lose the job. That's what I think. I mean, here we go. They have talked to or been connected to McDaniel, Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, Zach Robinson, Bobby Slowick, Declan Doyle, Mike Kafka, Arthur Smith, Charlie Weiss Jr. And those are people we know are not taking the job. They have been connected to and or talked to Jim Bob Cooter, Josh Grizzard, Matt Nagy, Frank Smith, and my old pal Gerard Johnson. Those people might take the job. We don't know. That's 13 people. This is an A-list franchise. They spend a ton of money. You are in a cosmopolitan, cool city, tough city, I understand. But, like, I think Philly is, you know, if you were a better than average NFL city as far as, like, oh, I'm going to move there and have a good life, all those things. But I just think people are like, man, I'd rather, as Brian Dable just showed, go to Tennessee, where Robert Saleh just got hired, where I think he has a long leash where we can grow together, rather than go to Philly, where I think the head coach is on the hot seat, and if he gets fired, almost always the whole staff. I understand the Bills just promoted the offensive coordinator from the fired coach, but that's pretty rare. That's my read on it.
Well, I think it has to be either that with Sirianni and maybe not respecting him, you know, the not liking the way he acts, all his histrionics and stuff, or Jalen. Like, to me, those are the only two possibilities. I get it that the city's tough, but it's a great sports town. If you're a head coach or a coach and you're afraid of the Philly fan, come on, you're not worth the job anyway. So I think it's got to be either Sirianni or Hurts. And look, obviously, I like Jalen Hurts. He's proven he can win a Super Bowl. There was some reporting out of Philly that, you know, he does his own thing and changes plays or whatever. So we're guys worried about that, not throwing as many intermediate passes. Like, do they feel he has certain limitations that they can't overcome? I don't know, but it's got to be either Sirianni or Jalen.
Sirianni, and for reasons different than Nick. And I say Sirianni because if you're an offensive coordinator, to touch on your point really quick, and you know the natural progression is offensive coordinator, have success, possibly get looked at to become a head coach. That's the natural progression. Same with defensive side of the ball. In this situation, you have all the skill guys. You have the personnel. Every coach believes, man, if I had that, I would be able to make something out of that. And so naturally, I don't go to the ideology of, man, a coordinator is going to be like, man, Jalen Hurts. No, because the coaches that aren't in the room with Jalen Hurts believe I can get more out of that guy. Every coach feels like they can get more out of somebody else's talent. The reason why I say Sirianni is because he seemingly has naturally, he's the head coach, has his hand in things to where if I'm coming in as a coordinator, it's either going to be this is what I'm bringing and we adapt and I bring on some of the old terminology and some of the old things that I feel like would marry well, or you're telling me this is what you're going to get. And this is how you're going to run. This is how you're going to.
At least some of the guys will have full control of the offense.
So, but
the OC.
And you can say that. However, coaches talk just like players talk. Hey, man, how was your experience? Was it just you? Were you running the offense?
Nah, man,
did Sirianni
in those meetings.
Did Sirianni have any say that it's just different when you're actually in a system? I just find it hard to believe that a offensive coordinator seeing that type of talent. Obviously, there's some unknowns about is AJ going to be there, how it looks moving forward, but it's still a very talented roster offensively. Saying, nah, I don't want to chance my career on that.
Greg raised some exceptionally insightful points, and I'd like to thoroughly examine them from several perspectives. I'm not even going to spend time on that Bruce, Jalen Hurts notion, because, honestly, it's utterly senseless. The idea suggests that no coach is willing to accept a position with Jalen Hurts under center, which implicitly frames him as the least capable quarterback in the league. You'd have to argue he's so fundamentally deficient that a coach believes winning is impossible with him, preferring any other vacancy. Given the landscape of NFL quarterbacks, that proposition is patently absurd and almost comical. I was impressed that even a certain prominent commentator didn't entertain it, which is why Greg rightly dismissed it, noting that every single coach inherently believes they can maximize a player's potential. Even if you personally doubt Hurts's ceiling, a coach's mindset is, I'm the one who can make it work. That's the foundational belief of every coach in this league. However, you must understand the broader career calculus, which Greg also highlighted and I intended to address. We're discussing individuals aiming to become coordinators as a stepping stone to a head coaching role, and the specific trajectory that path requires. The reality for candidates like Dan Quinn or any other candidate is this. The Philadelphia Eagles, having just won a Super Bowl in 2024 and then taken a step backward, now operate under a championship or bust mandate. Essentially, anything less than reaching, and preferably winning, another Super Bowl will be viewed as a significant underachievement. In such a high-stakes environment, if you join as the offensive coordinator and the team only reaches the divisional round before being eliminated, an outcome that befalls many great teams like the Bills, Ravens, Bengals, 49ers, or Rams, that is perceived as a monumental failure for the Eagles and, by extension, for that coordinator. This stands in stark contrast to taking a position with a team like the Tennessee Titans, working with a young quarterback like Cam Ward. There, your mandate is to show progress. If you can make that offense look semi-organized, compete for a playoff spot, or even secure a wild card berth, your professional stock skyrockets. You've demonstrably improved a situation, and that narrative is incredibly powerful when seeking a head coaching role. Similarly, remaining with the Chicago Bears to continue learning under an offensive mastermind like Ben Johnson, riding the coattails of that system's success, is a safer, more resume-friendly bet. Your value ascends within a proven structure. This isn't about a lack of competitive spirit or an unwillingness to bet on yourself. The professional landscape isn't that simple. There's only one NFL. You can't just go to a parallel league if one opportunity sours. You must strategically leverage the opportunities before you. It makes perfect sense from a career management standpoint. Consider Brian Daboll's reported stance. He was only interested in the Buffalo Bills head coaching job or the Titans coordinator role, not the Bills coordinator position. That's despite the chance to work with Josh Allen. Why? Because it's a career move. If he goes to Buffalo as coordinator and they don't win a Super Bowl, the narrative becomes, you couldn't even win with Josh Allen. Getting to an AFC championship game might be seen as a baseline expectation, not an achievement. But if he goes to Tennessee, makes Cam Ward look competent, and gets them to the playoffs for the first time in years, he's suddenly a hot head coaching candidate. The Eagles could even fire their current coach and come calling for him based on that turnaround. The accomplishments required on your resume to reach the promised land of a head coaching gig are vastly different depending on the team you choose. For instance, if Mike McDaniel, as a coordinator, helps the Los Angeles Chargers win a single playoff game with Justin Herbert, that's hailed as a massive success. If that same coordinator helps the Philadelphia Eagles win a wildcard game, but then loses in the divisional round to the Rams, it's often framed as a disaster. When you layer on the intense media scrutiny and fan pressure in Philadelphia, the calculus becomes even less appealing for an ascending coach. Combine this with the unknown variable of working directly under Nick Sirianni, how collaborative or difficult that might be, and the situation becomes inherently tricky. I know trolls will simplistically yell, it's because of Jalen Hurts. But that's illogical. Coaches routinely take jobs with quarterbacks objectively less accomplished than Hurts. The reluctance isn't about the quarterback's ability. It's about the ecosystem surrounding the job. The Eagles are an organization with immense recent success, a championship pedigree, and a fan base that demands immediate greatness. There are also internal dynamics, like the reported tension between Sirianni and a star receiver, and the relentless media cycle. If you're an offensive coordinator strategically plotting a path to a head coaching position, the Eagles' job, despite its prestige, might not top your list. And I say this as someone who has consistently defended and praised the Eagles franchise. If my dream was to become an NFL head coach, I have to be brutally pragmatic. The opportunity in Philadelphia is incredible. Working with a brilliant GM like Howie Roseman, a talented roster, and an iconic fan base. But from a pure career trajectory standpoint, there's a compelling argument for choosing the Chargers, Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, Los Angeles lifestyle, the Titans, a clean slate with a young QB, or even staying put with the Bears to learn from Ben Johnson. These are paths where demonstrating moderate success can catapult you to a top job Whereas in Philadelphia, only a Super Bowl victory constitutes true success. Take Kellen Moore as a hypothetical. If he joins the Eagles as OC and they lose to the Rams in the playoffs, does he become the New Orleans Saints' next head coach? Probably not. But if Brian Daboll gets the Titans' offense looking functional and they sneak into the playoffs as a 7 seed, he's instantly on multiple shortlists. It's a fundamentally easier path to the ultimate goal. This isn't about lacking competitive fire or avoiding pressure. We're discussing a career, a series of calculated decisions aimed at maximizing one's professional potential, securing a long-term, lucrative head coaching contract. If my objective is to leverage my current position into that 5-year, $50 million deal, I'm going to choose the situation that best facilitates that. Riding the coattails of a renowned offensive mind in Chicago, starting fresh in Tennessee, or aligning with a coaching superstar in Los Angeles all make complete strategic sense. To simply say, well, the Eagles have been to 2 Super Bowls with Hurts, misses the point. For a coordinator stepping into this specific role in 2026, the expectation is binary. Win the Super Bowl, or you have failed. That's an immense burden to willingly shoulder, especially when you've seen what happened to the previous coordinator, Kevin Patullo. Who wants to sign up for that volatility when other avenues offer a clearer, lower-risk path to career advancement? It's a frustrating spot for Howie Roseman to navigate. From my armchair perspective, I'd be aggressive. I'd be looking to make a bold, foundational move, like pursuing an offensive prodigy from the Shanahan-McVay tree, perhaps a Clint Kubiak, and making him the head coach. Maybe he'd prefer the Raiders to start with a rookie QB, but the Eagles have the capital, the iconic status, and the appeal. As even critics admit, it's an A-plus franchise where players love to play. You can attract an elite coach. I do not believe Nick Sirianni is that elite, franchise-defining coach. He's a good coach, and I've defended his qualities, particularly his ability to prepare a team for a Super Bowl run. But I've said for months that an organization of this caliber, with stellar ownership, a visionary GM, and a passionate fan base, deserves a truly great, potentially legendary schematic leader. They deserve a Ben Johnson, a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, or a rising star like Kubiak. That caliber of coaching is the difference between sporadic success and building a sustained dynasty. I know some Eagles fans will point to a positive head-to-head record against McVay, but that's a narrow way to view it. Being honest, wouldn't this Eagles team be markedly better with an offensive visionary like Johnson, McVay, or Shanahan calling the shots? I've tried to illustrate through film breakdowns what a transformative offensive scheme can achieve. Yes, the offensive line was a major issue, a huge Achilles heel, but I'd still contend the coaching, from game planning to play calling to in-game management, was equally devastating at critical moments. With the right elite coach, you are set. You can finally maximize Jalen Hurts' potential within a sophisticated, coherent system. Furthermore, that coach provides the institutional confidence to make tough, long-term roster decisions when necessary, whether it's eventually moving on from Hurts if a ceiling is reached, or confidently letting a star receiver walk, because you have supreme faith in your system to develop the next man up. You don't have that same level of strategic confidence with Sirianni or a revolving door of coordinators. You have it with a Shanahan, you have it with a McVay, you have it with an Andy Reid. So I'm fascinated to see who they ultimately secure. It doesn't appear they'll land one of the hot coordinator names everyone is clamoring for. At this stage, the most prominent available name might be Cliff Kingsbury. As Dan Orlovsky has argued, the direction the league is heading necessitates hiring a coach rooted in that modern Shanahan-style offensive philosophy. The more you listen to these coaches describe their systems, how they protect quarterbacks, create explosives, and simplify the game for players, the more it becomes clear that's the path forward. You need continuity to develop a quarterback, something Hurts has lacked. You need the right coordinator to run the right system to unlock his full potential. It's not enough to just hire a great offensive coordinator. The critical question is, what specific offense are you looking to run? Football, more than many care to admit, is a game of systems. If the Eagles can correctly identify and install a top-tier offensive system, rather than just hiring a name or focusing on isolated play calls, they position themselves in a significantly better spot to work, to develop talent, and to win consistently. Those are my reflections. I am incredibly eager to hear yours. What do you all think about the Philadelphia Eagles situation? What do you believe is the primary reason they're encountering difficulty in hiring an offensive coordinator? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, let's engage in some discussions. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's just enjoy the process. And please consider subscribing. We're fostering a fantastic community here, and I would absolutely love for you to be part of it. I aim to build something we all feel connected to, something we're genuinely excited to participate in. I believe we're making significant progress toward that goal. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely assists with visibility and the platform's algorithm. Thank you so much.